Hello and welcome back to this episode of the Engage A podcast. I am Josh with my co-host Mike. Today we are recapping week 17. We're going to do every game the Saturday, Thursday, Sunday, all the way up until Monday Night Football. We will talk about that Monday Night Football game between the Niners and the Lions on later in this week, probably like Friday, I think. We'll probably record a little bit later so we can talk about the college football playoff games, but we'll start here with the first Christmas game. Chiefs beat the Steelers 29 to 10. The Steelers are starting to do what they've done for the past few years now, which is get on to a really, really good start despite not being a highly anticipated team in the offseason. And then everybody starts to think, oh, they're really good, they're really good. And then they end up falling apart here at the end of the year. And they're doing that again. They have lost three straight now. It is all to good teams, though, the Ravens, the Eagles, and now the Chiefs. But still, they've been pretty non-competitive in all these games. They were in the Eagles game for a little bit, kind of in the Ravens game for a little bit, and I guess kind of in this game for a little bit, but at the end they all end up being blowouts. Russ has struggled to get over 200 yards in this stretch, and he's beginning to have a turnover problem. Steelers were surprisingly able to run the ball pretty well, but their pass game was absolutely irrelevant here. Mahomes was very efficient, 320, three touchdowns, no interceptions in this game. Chiefs run game continues to struggle. They need to figure that out. Both Kelsey and Worthy in this game bring in 8 catches and a touchdown. Chiefs, who are a pretty good third down team, and that's been one of their strengths this entire year offensively, went 3 for 10 in this game, but still ended up dominating. Chiefs starting to look better and better, and the Steelers are most likely done for the North. Luckily, I like the Texans matchup for them if they can win against the Bengals, but if they lose that game, then you're looking to play the Ravens, and that's a matchup that you do not want. So the Steelers absolutely have to win next week.
Yes, I also like their matchup with the Texans if that were to happen, but they got a win to get that done. Russell Wilson was not great in this game. The Chiefs came out and dominated this game on both sides of the football, really. Patrick Mahomes, 3 touchdowns, no picks, threw for 320 yards. Chiefs didn't really have a run game in this one. The Steelers' run defense has been very good as a whole this season. We've seen that a lot. But in this game, just a lot of Mahomes. Kelsey had a big second half. He finishes with 884 and a touchdown. He was good. And so was Xavier Worthy, who also had a touchdown. This is one of the better games we've seen from this Chiefs offense. They scored 29 points. They've still yet to score more than 30 in a game, but I think this was going against a great defense in Pittsburgh, and they went out and dominated. Mahomes has Mike Tomlin's number. Tomlin cannot seem to beat the Chiefs and Mahomes. Ran the ball for 200 plus yards, the Steelers did, against a very good Chiefs run defense, but still the offense wasn't great. Like you said, they could not pass the ball. So nice win for the Chiefs here. A dominant win. They clinch the AFC. They get that bye. It's like they don't have to play their starters for, I think it's 24 days. They get next week off and then the bye. So it's going to be a long time until we see Mahomes and this team again. They get a lot of rest. Hopefully they won't be rusty in the playoffs, but it's always nice to have rest, and they're used to it. So I don't think they'll have any issues.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's too long. I wouldn't rest them this next game. I'd play them in the first half and then bench them. That's 25 days is way too long before the playoffs.
Yeah.
I know it's the Chiefs, but still, that's just a lot of rest. But
It's the fact that they played on Wednesday too. I mean,
yeah, it
that's
just
another
always
4 days there, 5 days.
it kills them. But moving on here to Ravens beating the Texans 31 to 2. Ravens found a run game early in this one, ran the ball 43 times. Texans have absolutely let me down. Derrick Henry continues to dominate. Texans offense is truly just bad now, and it all stems from the offensive line and their wide receiver injuries. I'm not the biggest Stephon Diggs guy, but their offense has completely fallen off almost immediately after he got hurt. Texans go 4 for 17 on third and fourth down in this game. Embarrassingly bad. When you dominate time of possession like the Ravens did in this one, it's hard to lose a game. They had the ball for basically the entire game here. Ravens won 4 of their last 5 games. They're 3-1 against playoff teams in that stretch, just losing that close game to the Eagles. Texans are most likely going to have a fraud watch game with Pitt in the first round. We'll see which one of those teams can come out of that. I'm back and forth on that matchup. But yeah, they're either going to get Pittsburgh or the Chargers. I mean, I don't love that matchup either way for them, but yeah, the Texans are just they're just really, really bad right now, especially offensively. And their defense, although they are good and I really like that unit, they can't carry this team like they need to be carried.
Yeah, I completely agree. And when you look at this offense right now, it's just not in a good spot at all. This offense for the Texans gets shut out in this game by the Ravens defense, which has struggled at points this year, but it seems to be hitting a stride. pretty much at the perfect time, getting ready for the playoffs. But the Texans just incredibly disappointing. C.J. Stroud takes 5 sacks in this game. He has not been the same player as he was his rookie season. Has not really been great this season at all. He's lucky a lot of these AFC South teams fell apart this season. We saw the Colts fall apart this week, but before that, Joe Mixon and this Texans run game, their offense is solid when this run game is going, but in the playoffs, a lot of these teams have a very good run defense. The Steelers do, the Chargers do. They're not going to be able to run the ball very well, and if really when this offense can't run the ball, there's not much they can do. Joe Mixon only gets 26 yards on the ground. They only get 58 yards as an offense. Passing the ball, really nothing going with C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins. 3 catches, 59 yards. Really nothing there. This was a home game in Houston, and you get shut out. Your only points come off of a safety, which is almost funnier than getting shut out. The defense puts up more points than the offense for them. And the Ravens, Lamar Jackson continues to just play at an MVP level. He's right there. It's pretty much neck and neck with him and Josh Allen. I can see them both winning it, and I wouldn't have an issue with either of them winning it. They're both playing at an incredible level. He has 2 passing touchdowns, no picks, gets a rushing touchdown and 87 yards on the ground. Derrick Henry continues to dominate, and this was just the Ravens putting their foot on the pedal, showing that they're one of the best teams in the AFC. I really see right now it a three-way battle really between the Ravens, Bills, and Chiefs to get out of the AFC, and this is a good start for the Ravens down the stretch here.
Okay, moving on here to Thursday Night Football. Seahawks beating the Bears 6-3. I'm intentionally going to be very short with this game. I don't have really much to say at all. Total of 2 trips to the red zone in this game, no touchdowns, just a very sloppy, gross game. Teams were 11 for 29 on third and fourth down in this game. A lot of punts. Caleb was not good. I know you have some stats on his O line. I'll let you get that, but he gets sacked 7 times in this game. Many of them were on him. Seahawks, they were still alive after winning this game. They're actually 6-1 on the road this year. So that's a pretty impressive stat from them. They're probably like the second or third best road team this year. Seahawks did get eliminated later in the week, though, so this game is meaningless. The Bears, though, are still at the number 9 pick despite losing 10 straight games now. So that sucks for them. They got to be rooting for some wins for some of these 4-win teams now to try and move up. But it's been a pretty disappointing last 2.5 months for them now.
Yeah, it's been very disappointing from the Bears. Caleb Williams really hasn't shown too much. Their offensive line hasn't. 6-3 game. This should take the mantle for the worst Thursday night football game we've seen in a long time from the Colts Broncos. I hope that game at least was funny. This game was just brutally bad. Caleb Williams was not good, only 122 passing yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. He finally gets that interception on the last play of offense for the Bears to end that long streak that he had going. Speaking on some of those stats, before I say this, I think this Bears offensive line is bad. Like
I agree. But
I don't have any issues with that. But according to PFF, they are top 10 in pass block grade, and they rank third best in average time to pressure. Cincinnati, the Bengals, they rank third worst in that same stat. And when you look at Joe Burrow and Caleb Williams, they're both averaging about 13 pressures per game, yet Caleb Williams has taken 30 more sacks than Joe Burrow has this season. He really doesn't navigate the pocket well. He just holds on to the ball too long. They showed he holds on to the ball, I think, third longest in the NFL this season. It was like 3.4 seconds. He's got to get the ball out quicker. That's just not a question. And that is his fault, but they also need coaches out there to help him get the ball out quicker. You see the charts of where he completes his passes. I think until that fourth quarter, I've seen this before with this Bears offense, he didn't have a completion beyond 6 yards until late in the fourth quarter. That just cannot be the case. Somehow he's not getting the ball out quick, yet when he does throw the ball, he's not throwing it past 6 yards. So it doesn't add up. I mean, we know that a lot's going to change in Chicago in the offseason. But this time they don't have the first overall pick to help them. Right now they're sitting at 9. So for the Seahawks, you get a win in a scrappy way. Geno Smith wasn't great. Really nothing was great for this team except the defense, which has been a huge bright spot. Mike McDonald, I think, is going to be a great coach in this league. They're sitting at 9-7. They can win next week, but it won't matter. They're out of the playoffs, and that would be tough to be a 10-win team and be out of the playoffs, but especially with the expansion to more teams in the playoffs. But 10-win season, I'd say it's a good season for the Seahawks. You saw a lot of bright spots, and I think Mike McDonald has a bright future.
yeah, I mean their defense is really good. That's never been a problem. You can't go. I mean, what are they? 3-6 at home or 2-6 at home.
Yeah,
Can't
well, the 6-1 on the road, so
Yeah, you can't go 2-6 at home and expect to make the playoffs or whatever it is. It's something like that. But
especially when you call your you say you have the 12th
the
man, so
12th man, yeah, they did not have the 12th man this year. But move on to Saturday. First game here, Chargers 40, Patriots 7. Chargers are really getting back to their ways now. They've been pretty good the past couple games now. J.K. Dobbins back for LA immediately has a great game. He's just a really good back. We thought maybe in the beginning of the year, first couple months, that okay, Jim Harbaugh, he's got this running system. Their O line is decent. They got some good tackles. Their guards and their center are okay. And maybe that's why J.K. Dobbins is succeeding. But you see, when he wasn't in the lineup, they weren't able to get a run game going. He comes back in, they're immediately getting that run game back. He's just a really good back. Herbert was efficient, 280, three touchdowns, no picks. He's having a super underrated season. He has just three interceptions this year. He's been a really, really good. Ladd is having a great year. He went 94 for two touchdowns in this game. New England really struggled versus this tough defense, just never found the red zone a single time in this game. Just 19 minutes of time of possession for New England. The Chargers dominated time of possession there as well. Chargers still very much in play for the 5 seed, which, like I said just a couple games ago, this is a you'd much rather have the 5 seed in the AFC than the 6 seed because it's really a three-team race in the AFC. I don't think any of the wild card teams or the Texans really have a chance, but you'd much rather play the Texans and get your shot in the next round, whether it's versus the Chiefs or the Bills, than having to play against the Ravens in the first round. So I think they're really going to be fighting for this. I think the forces that be with Goodell are going to be fighting to keep them at the 6 seed to match up the Harbaughs in the first round. I don't know why they
yeah.
wouldn't try to do that. And we saw it a little bit yesterday. Goodell's going to do what he wants for his schedule. But regardless, they should be trying to get the 5 seed. I think they have a really good chance at it. They should win next week. They're just going to need a Bengals win over Pittsburgh, which is very, very doable at this point. So we'll see what happens. But Chargers are in a solid spot right now.
Chargers are in a solid spot, but so are the Patriots now, sitting with the first overall pick in the draft. Drake May wasn't great in this game, does have a nice touchdown throw to Demario Douglas, but other than that, the Patriots offense wasn't great. The weapons Drake May's been having to play with this season have not been good. You've seen a lot. You don't really know a lot of these guys. We know they aren't great players. Kayshon Boutte, Kendrick Bourne, Austin Hooper. Expect a lot to change in that receiving room next year. That number one overall pick could be Travis Hunter immediately, and maybe they trade back. Someone wants to trade up to get their quarterback of the future. You can go get Ted McMillan maybe, but a lot of options for the Patriots out there. Chargers get a dominant win. Justin Herbert looks very good. He seems to be very comfortable in this offense at this point in the season. 3 touchdowns, no picks, and getting J.K. Dobbins back. We said going in this game that was going to be huge. This run game for the Chargers is much better with him in the game. 76 yards and a touchdown. His career path has been very hard, but he's just a great story. He should be in that comeback player of the year race. I think it should be pretty much him versus maybe just Sam Darnold. Those are two guys who have come back from a lot through their career, but he's coming back off injury, and I just think that's very impressive, especially the injuries that he's had. And then, like you said, Ladd McConkey, 8 catches, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns for Ladd. We've been a big fan of Ladd McConkey on this show for all season going into the draft, and now seeing him succeed in LA has been very nice to see. So, uh, great game from him. Fantasy championship performance.
Yeah, and he's gonna find himself high on the rookie ladders here at the end of the year, especially among receivers. But I'll talk about
Oh
that a
yeah.
little bit more in a bit here. We'll move on to the best game from this day. The Bengals beating the Broncos 30-24. This is a really good game. Bengals had multiple chances to win in overtime. Joe Burrow gave them those chances to win. They finally did get it done late. Marvin Mims from the Broncos had a dominant game, 8 catches, 103, 2 touchdowns for him. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase combined for 20 catches, 233 yards, and 3 touchdowns. They were dominant. T. Higgins was phenomenal. Whether he's on the Bengals or another team that's not the Jets, because Sauce Gardner said he's not going to tell him to go there, he's going to be great wherever he ends up. T. Higgins is very, very talented. And I think he, as a wide receiver one, could enter some top 10 conversations for sure. Tough game for Riley Moss in his first game back. Unfortunately, our boy. He's a good DB, had a bad game. Having to go against T. Higgins and Jamar Chase in your first game back from injury, it is what it
Yeah.
is. I know you're cornerback too, but you're always going to look bad next to Pat Surtain. Burrow obviously dominates this game despite being sacked 7 times in this game, which I don't know if the stat you said about Caleb was before or after this game. But if it's after, that's even worse because he got sacked 7 times in this game. Bengals, despite not usually being great in time of possession, they had the ball for 41 minutes in this game. They had the ball for a long time. Chase Brown, unfortunately, does get hurt late in this game. Herbert had to come in for a little bit. It looks like they're going to have Chase Brown back for Saturday. I was looking at that a little bit, so that's good for them. But the Bengals stay alive. Although Denver's probably going to win next week against Carson Wentz and the Chiefs. I know there's like all the scenarios. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think even if the Broncos lose, I think the Bengals still need the Dolphins to lose,
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah,
Which I feel like there's a lot of people out there, like casual NFL fans, who understand like the situation with the Bengals, but don't understand that the Dolphins are the team that gets in if they don't lose.
yeah. And it was the Colts, then it was the Dolphins, then
Yeah.
Bengals. The Bengals had the third spot, and now
Dolphins are the team I want in the least.
yes,
We do not need to see the Dolphins go into Buffalo in the first game.
no,
I'd
that
much
would
rather see the Broncos or the
we
Bengals
know
in there.
exactly what will happen in that game if it
Yeah, no
happens.
one, no one wants to see that. Who do the Dolphins have next week? Probably the Pats, right?
I think so.
Because the Bills play the um Jets, or no, maybe the Dolphins play the Jets.
The
I think the
Dolphins.
Dolphins play the Jets. I think.
It's not the Pats. Yes, Dolphins, Jets.
Yeah, because everybody plays in division. So yeah,
Aaron
Dolphins, Jets,
Rodgers, last game of his
or
career.
maybe Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah,
I don't know after that last game, but yeah, I mean the Dolphins have a real chance. I would say if I had to put my money on it, I would definitely say the Broncos are going to be the team to get in. But
yes.
everybody can have their pipe dreams, and Goodell gets to make this Bengals game on Saturday next week to make it more entertaining than it maybe needs to be. They should have made Broncos
That's
Chiefs prime time.
yeah. That's
They,
his exact thought putting that game on Saturday
yeah,
night. The Broncos still hold their own fate, and I don't think the Chiefs, if they do bench all their starters, they do not want to see the Bengals in the playoffs out of any of the
well, I
teams.
disagree. I disagree.
You think they'd rather see the Broncos than the
No, no,
Bengals?
no, no. Here is the problem: is the Chiefs have a bye, so that doesn't matter. The only way they play the Bengals if they win in the first round, and then that means they don't have to play the Bills.
Okay, that's fair.
So
That's
I
true. I
think
didn't. Yeah.
so. I mean, I think I'd rather. I mean, I definitely would rather play the Bengals than the Bills. I know they wouldn't. The problem is they
It
have to play a
goes.
tougher second round matchup, but then they get to avoid the team that beat them earlier on in the year.
Yeah, it's the Bengals. I mean, both those teams they don't want to see. The Bengals have beat them in the playoffs before. The Bills have beat them every time in the regular
I think
season,
they'd
but they
smack the
can't beat them
Bengals.
in the
I think they'd
playoffs.
smack the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals defense has been playing a little bit better. Their offense is fantastic. We know that, but their defense, you can beat their defense. In this game here, we see, like you said, T. Higgins dominates. He's going to be great, whether he's in Cincinnati still, which it sounds like there might be a chance. Him and Jamar Chase, I think they have the same agent, and he says he would maybe take a little bit less to stay, but I don't know. I could see him going to New England, like we talked about in the last, and he could be a huge weapon there.
Let me ask you this: if you're a T
LA.
Higgins fantasy owner, dynasty owner specifically, would you rather see him stay with Joe Burrow, but he still has to be wide receiver two, or he goes to a team with a worse quarterback, but he gets to be wide receiver one?
I'd rather him stay
I'd
with Joe
almost,
Burrow in
I
that
think I'd
case.
rather him keep Joe Burrow too.
I'd rather stay with the quarterback.
Yeah, no, I agree. Which is
I think
crazy.
Drake May could be great though.
I think so too, but no, he gets
He's
to
still
be
a question
guarded by a
mark.
wide receiver, or he gets to be guarded by cornerback twos.
Hmm.
I mean, arguably, I would assume. I mean, I don't have the stats in front of me, but the games that T. Higgins and Jamar have played together, I would say T. Higgins has probably gotten more targets. T. Higgins has been a beast this year when he's played. He's just been hurt,
Yeah, I'd seen that stat. I know the stat is also Jamar Chase plays better when T Higgins plays as well. They
which
both like
makes sense. Yeah,
raise each other's ceiling. But I mean,
but
we see in
will
this
one of the
game.
cheapest teams in the league do it? I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's the question. We also see Mike Gesicki get 12 targets, 10 catches, and 86 yards in this game. And I mean, if you're a fantasy owner there, you want T Higgins to stay with a pass-heavy offense like the Bengals.
No, definitely, yeah, definitely.
I mean, we still see Chase
Unless
Brown
they
get
take
20
Jets or something.
carries. Yeah, which that would be very interesting. I think they should stick with Chase Brown, though. I think he's very good for them.
Yeah.
But the Broncos, they had their chances in this game. Couple lucky heaves from Bo Nix. A great throw from Bo Nix to Marvin Mims on the first deep pass, but they forced overtime in this game. They had chances in overtime, couldn't get it done. The Bengals were trying to lose. They sent out Cade York on a 3rd and 3. I get the maybe a bad snap on 4th down. You can't go for it, but I still, you keep running the ball. I think they could have just got a touchdown and ended the game. Keep the ball in Joe Burrow's hands. But they got it done. They kept their playoff chances alive. It'll be interesting to see if they can. It's out of their hands now. They just need to win their game and hope that the luck falls in their favor, but very unlikely still. Broncos just got to beat some backups next week, and I think they can get that done.
I started doing my preview notes for next week, and I stopped because I realized we're not going to record till like Thursday, so there's no reason in me doing any notes now. But my God, is that going to be a tough preview to get through? I was thinking maybe we like skip some games. Like there's
Oh,
just
with some of
so
the
many
bad ones,
meaningless games, dude. There's
yeah.
like two. There's
I mean,
honestly
Colts,
there's like
Jags,
two games that matter for like actual like playoffs.
yeah, Giants, Eagles doesn't matter anymore.
I
Cowboys,
mean, I get like little things like the
Commanders,
Packers and the Commanders, I guess, kind of matter because they can flip flop 6 and 7,
yeah.
but to most people that doesn't matter. Obviously, there's the big one, and then the Bengals. And outside of that, it's like, whew, it's
Like, do
tough.
the Bills bench their starters next week? I don't. They're not playing for anything now.
No, they are 100% benching their starters. Have you seen the line?
Oh, they have.
It's a two and
What's
a
the
half
line?
point line in
Oh
New
yeah,
England.
three
Yeah,
three line. Yeah.
they're absolutely benching their starters. We're gonna
Tampa
see what
Bay's
happens.
13-point favorites. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, none of the NFC West games matter. Oh,
Seahawks
I
3-point
guess
favorites.
the South games matter. I
The
guess.
Rams, they can bench their guys now.
Uh-huh. They're going to. I mean, that's why I'm saying like we're going to be doing this preview for teams that we've never seen. Like, how are we supposed to evaluate 15 teams backups that we
Yeah.
haven't seen all year? Like this, I was like looking at the stats and like, wait, none of this even matters. Like they're not playing their starters, so like you can't even draw any of the stats
ESPN has Detroit as 2.5-point favorites.
against the Vikings. I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
know.
then Broncos
Also,
10-point
that's
favorites on
TBD on
Chiefs.
tonight. That's TBD on tonight. Lions could have 18 injuries and then be
Yeah.
30-point dogs. It could
Broncos
happen.
10-point favorites against Chiefs is that's a big number.
That is a big number. I like the Chiefs there.
Yeah.
I like old Carson Wentz. Week 18 Carson Wentz.
Falcons 9-point favorites on the Panthers. I like the Panthers in that, man.
Yeah, I don't know. The Panthers were brutal last week. They were brutal to watch. But I guess we'll get to those games in a few days from now. But move on to the final Saturday game here. The Rams beating the Cardinals 13-9. Another time this year where the Rams mid defense carries them. I know the Rams defense is starting to get some hype. There's a lot of teams in the playoffs that I would love to play if I'm a team in the AFC or the NFC. I would love to play the Rams. I would love to play the South winner, even the Bucks. Even though I'd much rather play Atlanta than the Bucks. I'd much rather play Atlanta than the Bucks, and I'd rather play the Rams than the Bucks too. But I'd also rather play the Bucks than probably any of the wild card teams. I don't know.
I don't,
Maybe not Commanders.
I
Commanders Bucks is a toss up for me.
yeah, it's just yeah,
Commanders
it's a
defense is
tough one.
better. The Bucks defense just isn't that good. They're good against the run, but their secondary is not.
It's not good. They're just their offense has been lethal.
I take that back. I wouldn't want to play the Bucks. I take that back. But I'd definitely rather play the Rams over them, and then the Commanders and them as a toss up. And then in the AFC, I mean, including the Bengals, I would want to play any of the teams who can get that 7 seed. Broncos, Bengals, Dolphins. Want to play the Texans. I'd uh I'd want to play the Steelers. There's a lot of teams that I
Yeah,
would want to play.
in the AFC, I think there's just three powerhouses, and then the
There
rest
is.
are just good teams.
That's
That
why the 1 seed is so important because
hmm
the Ravens and the Bills are going to have to play each other.
yeah,
So it's like that's a. I mean, I'm like I said, I think the Bengals are still a team we want to play because of how bad their defense is. They have, I would say confidently, they have the worst defense in the playoffs if they make it. But I mean, if the Bills got to go Bengals, Ravens, Bills, or Chiefs, that's a tough
yeah.
path, man.
That's a tough path.
That's a tough
In
path.
in the NFC, I think I'd rather play the Commanders than the Bucks right now, though.
Play the
I'm kind of
Commanders
back
and
and
the
forth on
Bucks.
that, but
Yeah, yeah. Rookie quarterback.
in the playoffs, yeah.
Bucks won a playoff game last
I,
year.
and honestly,
They're good at home.
I mean, I know you won't agree with this, but I'd almost rather play the Bucks than the Packers.
Ooh. Well, no. Packers
The
defense is
Packers against good teams
Packers
this year
defense.
have not
I agree.
been good.
They're
They're like
0 and
one
5
in
against the Lions,
yeah.
Vikings, and Eagles, but
Well,
uh,
they're like 1-7 against teams above 500.
I think 1 and 6. They played two other teams outside of those
One
two
and
that are above
six.
500. It's
Yeah.
I can't remember off the top of my head who they played, but also like And I hate to give, I
I
mean,
had the stat going into
I'm
the
a
game.
Packers fan this week, I guess, but not anymore. I mean, those are three of the best teams in the NFL. I mean, you got to win
They
one, but
are.
like they competed in one of the game, one of the two of the game, or no, four of those five games they competed in. They were in that Brazil
Comp-
game.
um, they're 10 and over teams have 9 wins or less. 0 and 4 versus teams with 10 plus wins. So,
Well, that wait, no, that doesn't make any sense. They're 0 5.
well, 0 and 5 now. That was before the week.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, I mean, but they competed. It's not like they got blown out. They competed. They lost by two against the Vikings the second time. I forget how much they
They were
lost by the
getting
first time.
they were getting dominated in this one though. They just had a late little
Game-winning
comeback.
field goal to the Lions. Late game against the Eagles in Brazil. I would rather play the Bucks than them.
The Bucks did beat you at home though.
Hard to beat a team twice.
Well, it's hard to beat a team 3 times.
It's very hard to beat a team. Hey, hard for too, but I don't know. That's just the defense. I trust the
Yeah,
Packers defense more. I know they got shredded yesterday, but everyone's kind of getting shredded against the Vikings right now.
I think that's just a rougher matchup for Minnesota, having to go to Tampa Bay.
No, I agree.
Then the Commanders got to go to LA. That's I can see the Commanders winning that game.
If they go to LA,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
would bet on them to win that game.
yeah.
I don't think the Rams are that good. I really don't.
And then the Packers going to Philadelphia. That's kind of a rough matchup for Philly there, but
Dude, could you imagine? Hard to beat a team twice.
yeah. Would they stay if the Packers win next week? Would they stay the 7 seed?
If the Commanders win, yeah.
Yeah. So,
They need the Commanders to lose to Dallas. Otherwise, they're the seven.
hmm
Back to back years playing an NFC East winner from as a seven seed. We saw what happened last year. I mean,
that was prime Toyotathon Jordan Love though. Toyotathon Jordan Love hasn't been as elite this year.
that's like the one situation where I would be cool with the Lions being the five seed.
Is it the Packers beat the Eagles?
Vikings get the one, Packers beat the Eagles, so we don't have to go to Philly. And then you get Vikings, Packers, Lions, and the Rams Commanders winner to go to the NFC title game. And then you get a rematch with a division rival in the title game. That's a
Yeah.
decent matchup.
You have
If
to be
the
on the. You don't want to have to go to Minnesota in that case, though.
I'm cool with going to Minnesota. I'd rather go to Minnesota than Lambeau.
I think those are both very hard places to play. You just don't
Yeah,
want to play outdoors.
too much. I don't want any outside things controlling the game. It's
Oh,
more of a controlled environment inside. The better team wins usually. Um, but yeah, I don't know. That's God forbid if the Lions lose next week, which I don't think they will. But if they do, I will be rooting for the Packers to beat the Eagles and for everything to fuck up. I wish there was a way. Is there a way that the Rams can fall to the four?
yeah, I think
They can
so.
fall to the four. That would be great too.
I think if they lose next week and Tampa wins, they fall to the 4 if they lose and Tampa wins.
So yeah, they have a lot to play for. Going against a team
Or
in Seattle that doesn't have much to play for.
well, last year didn't they lose on purpose to kind of play the Lions?
Yes, they did. That worked out
I
great
don't
for
I don't
them,
think
didn't
they
it?
I don't think they want to do
Yeah.
that again.
Now I would the Rams, in my opinion, do I want to give this as a take? If the Bucks make the playoffs, I think the Rams are the worst team in the NFC playoffs.
I don't disagree with that,
Now,
but
do I want to go against Matt Stafford and Sean McVay in the playoffs? Not ideally, but team for team, I don't think they have a great defense, although they played decent down the stretch here. Their passing offense has just not been good over the past month or so. It's literally just Kyron Williams. And if
and
you
they
could,
don't have Aaron Donald anymore.
yeah, and if you could stop the run, I mean, I don't know. I think they're a favorable matchup, but I guess that brings us right back to this recap that we were like just started and then went off on a tangent. I don't have really shit to say about this game either. Cardinals offense has been so disappointing. Shout out Trey McBride. He gets in the end zone, but that was the only successful red zone trip. 4 tries for Arizona. Rams win turnover battle 2-0. Cardinals defense kept them in this game. They've been a weird unit this year. Cardinals are one of the weirdest teams in the NFL, in my opinion. But back to back interceptions to finish the game for their offense just can't have that happen if you're Kyler. Rams went on to clinch the NFC West, like we said, later this week. Most likely will finish as the 3 seed, despite a 1-4 start. Like we said, they could beat the 4 seed, but yeah, similar season to last year for the Rams. Really tough start because of injuries. Come back, make the playoffs. The difference is last year they weren't able to win the division because the Niners were so good. This year they do win the division because their division isn't as good. But I also think that last year's team is better than this year's team.
Wait,
So
yes.
yeah, like I said, I think it's the Rams and the Commanders are the Ducks in the NFC. But I also think depth wise, the NFC might be a little bit better. Or no, I think the NFC is better depth wise. AFC is more top heavy.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. AFC's pretty top heavy. I think the other teams are still good, but those three teams are just very much better than the rest.
The Steelers have really just emerged themselves as kind of a duck, and
Yeah.
that's gonna
I
kill
mean,
them.
3 games in 11 days. I guess it could just be a bad little skid having to play games that close, but
Yeah,
got
I mean
dominated
Russ just
and
hasn't been good.
yeah. This game, though, really no run game. James Conner was questionable going into the game and really just didn't do anything. Unfortunate for some fantasy managers in their championship. 4 carries for 4 yards. Not ideal. 2 catches for 4 yards. The Cardinals' offense recently just has not been good. All season has been a little bit of a struggle. They've had good games, had bad games up and down, but here again, it was just a rough watch. Trey McBride is Kyler Murray's best friend. It seems another 12 catch, 123 yards, and then he finally gets in the end zone. We do get to see a little bit of Marvin Harrison Jr. this week. 6 catches, 96 yards. He was good. He's up to 822 yards on the season and 7 touchdowns. Not as good as some of those top rookies that we've talked about, Lad, the two LSU guys, Neighbors, and Brian Thomas, and then Brock Bowers. But a solid rookie season, just disappointing in the terms of you were expecting him to be up there with those guys, and he hasn't really been close to them. Rams offense gets it done. It was through the air. A lot of Puka Nakua, 10 catches, 129 yards. He was basically all of the passing game for the Rams. Offense wasn't great for them either. Cooper Kupp puts up one of the worst fantasy playoff performances that he possibly could have throughout the 3 games. In this game, he gets 1 catch for 29 yards after 2 bad games before this one. Where what did he get in the games before this? He got last week 3 catches for 24 yards, and the week before that 0 catches. So he put up less than 8 points, less than 9 points in the fantasy football playoffs. What a job by him there. But the Rams get a win and clinch the division.
All right, this is completely off topic, but I have to say this because I just noticed it now. I have 6 lamps in an arm's distance of me right now. I just looked around the room and there are legitimately 6 lamps. I don't know if any of them are plugged in, but
That's
it's
Let
just
see.
like I could touch them all.
I got 3 lamps within the room total.
Big lamp
So
guys.
yeah,
um, Shout out the moth from that meme back in the day.
yeah, lamp.
Lamp, but
It's a throwback,
um,
man.
moving on here to the Bills beating the Jets 40-14. One of many horrible games in this window. It was a pretty brutal Sunday, honestly, just outside of the last 2 games. Rodgers had a bad game for the first time in a few weeks. He got a late hit penalty. I don't know if you saw that after one of his interceptions. He got a 15-yard unnecessary roughness on a late hit, and I hope his career doesn't end on that, but there's a decent chance it does. Josh Allen was not anything special in this game, but he did get it done. Buffalo's defense just kept putting their offense in great spots. That's why Josh Allen and the Bills just didn't have great offensive stats. I do want to say, for all the people that Josh Allen carried to the 1 seed in their playoffs, also a playoff stinker. He just wasn't good in the playoffs in fantasy the last 2 weeks. He was great in the first week, but usually, I mean, most of the time, I would say if you had Josh Allen this year, you probably didn't even need to win in the first week. Goes 50 or 40, 50, and then he had 9 last week, and I can't imagine he had many more than that this week. So tough for them. Tyrod Taylor played pretty good versus backups late in this game, so good for him. Jets had 16 penalties, 120 yards. Bad coaching and no discipline is just glaring for this Jets team. They came out to Gangster's Paradise. Did you see that with the
Oh yeah,
boombox?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
rough.
Did you see the angle of Josh Allen laughing at them?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, oh man. That's just that's tough. That's really tough. Bills most likely will rest their starters next week for the well, not most. They are going to rest their starters next week for the playoffs. Bills should skate by the Broncos if they have that matchup in the first round. and then we get a great matchup with the Ravens in round two. I'm very excited to see that game. I uh I said, look at this AFC playoffs. I think the Bills are a great team. I think the Ravens are a great team. I still like Kansas City. I still like Kansas City to get it done. I think if they can overcome that rust in the first week, I like them to make it out of there. I
Yeah, that's
mean, Mahomes just owns all of these guys in the playoffs. He just does, especially Josh.
yeah. I mean, he owns them. He owns them until he doesn't, though. I can see someone sneaking a win, but I mean, like you said, luckily for him, he most likely will avoid the Bills or the Ravens in that first round, which will be huge no matter what. The only way I don't see them getting out of that second round, no matter what, is if the Bengals somehow sneak in
Win
and they
like
have to play
45
them.
to 40 or something.
Yeah, that's the only team I feel like could threaten the Chiefs in terms of just maybe they aren't as confident going into the game, just knowing Joe Burrow. But I think they dominate the. I think they beat the Chargers. I think they beat the Broncos. I think they beat the Steelers. I mean,
See,
we just
like
saw them dominate the Steelers, and the Texans aren't even a question. I think they might be the worst team in the AFC playoffs.
honestly, they might be. They genuinely might be. You said the Chiefs might be the ones who don't want the Bengals to get in. I think the Bills are the ones that don't want the Bengals to get in
Yeah,
because the Bengals can absolutely win that game.
I agree with that too.
Like I
Um,
think they can absolutely win that game.
yeah, but most likely the Chiefs get a good matchup in that first round, and even if they're rusty, they can start slow and still come back and beat. I think any of those teams. But in this game, Josh Allen, he did finish with 23 fantasy points, so that's a solid day.
Oh, he
But
finished with 23. All right, bad.
the really didn't have to do too much though. This Buffalo offense dominated this game, and then the defense held a shutout until late in the game when Aaron Rodgers was benched and Tyrod Taylor came in and got two touchdowns. Mitch Trubisky comes in, throws one pass, gets a 69-yard touchdown to Tyrell Shavers.
Nice.
Just just a
Leading receiver for the Bills yesterday
yeah,
too.
yeah. This was the definition of a clowning game here. Still a good game from Josh Allen. We saw him make a couple. He had a red zone play where he threw a beautiful touchdown to, I think it was Keon Coleman.
It was. Yep.
That was a Lamar-like play. Those two guys are just so special, and if they get a matchup in the playoffs, that's gonna be great TV to watch. But dominant game. Jets in continue to lose, but I still think they were sitting at like the seventh pick in the draft or sixth. I know
I
they're
don't have
down
it pulled
there.
up. Eighth, maybe
Seventh. They're seventh
seventh.
right now, so still not ideal there, but hopefully they win next week.
They do have strength of schedule in their favor, I believe. So
Yeah.
that should help
I'd
them.
like to see them win though, and just I'm sure Dolphins don't make the
Yeah,
playoffs.
no, I would definitely like to see that too. My thing, it's not just like the Mahomes, Andy Reid thing, but like, well, one, I don't care how great of a year Josh Allen and Lamar have had and Joe Burrow. They're all great quarterbacks. They're all top five. I still refuse to say they're better than Patrick Mahomes until they show me something in the playoffs. But it's not even them that's my issue. I don't think any of those three teams, and it's crazy to even have the Bengals in this conversation because they most likely aren't even going to make it. But any of those three teams, I don't think they have the defense. Like the
No, I
Chiefs
agree.
defense is wildly better than those three teams. The Ravens maybe can compete, but their secondary is questionable at times.
If the
Buffalo gave up
Bills are at
40 points to
home,
the
they have a
Rams,
chance, but yeah, their
but
defense
they won't be
away.
against the
Yeah.
Chiefs.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. I could see. I almost, and I'm trying not to be a Bills hater. I almost think the Ravens have a better chance to beat the Chiefs, but I don't know if the Ravens can go into Buffalo and get a win.
Yeah.
So
I agree with
I
that. But
think we could be set up for that.
The Ravens defense in these past couple of weeks has started to figure it out a little bit. They've been better, so
Which is why I think they're the team that has the best chance
yeah.
against Mahomes. But I don't know. We'll see. The magic's going to be there, and the three-peat narrative is going to be there.
It's gonna be a big AFC championship.
I would probably rather see. I mean, obviously, I want the Lions to win the Super Bowl, but if there's going to be another team that wins it, I think the other two teams that I'd want to win it are the Bills and the Chiefs. I think a three-peat would undoubtedly be cool, and the Bills have never won it. So I
I'd
think
rather the Bills or Ravens win it than the Chiefs.
you'd rather the
That's
Ravens
crazy.
win than the Chiefs.
Oh, 100%.
I don't
Oh,
know.
damn it.
I don't really have like a massive reason why I'd want to see the Ravens win. To be a Derrick Henry, maybe. I guess.
Lamar. Lamar.
Yeah. I guess Lamar too. I don't know. I think a three-peat would be cool though.
He's gonna bring a Super Bowl to him.
He did say that. Yeah, he did say that. That would be nice for him to bank on those promises, though. But we need these AFC quarterbacks minus Burrow and Mahomes to show us something in the playoffs. Just
Yeah. I mean,
show
Josh
us
Allen
something.
has.
But has he?
He just hasn't won.
They've lost the divisional round 3 straight years.
The,
We can't
the
give him
the
credit
loss
for
in the
that.
division round to the Chiefs, though, you can give him credit for that. His defense gave up a field goal with 13 seconds,
Yeah, but
and then he
still,
never got to touch the ball again. So
I mean, he'll get a chance if he can get to overtime this year. We'll see. We're gonna see those The best thing about this AFC right now is we're going to see those matchups almost guaranteed. That we're gonna
yeah,
see Bills,
I mean,
Ravens,
yeah,
and Chiefs against the winner, most likely.
and
Now
most
the
likely we'll see the Steelers Chiefs again,
Steelers, Chiefs again, yeah,
pending
yeah.
someone the Chargers jumping the Steelers.
We could see Chargers, Chiefs, and I also will say if there's one of those wild card teams who I think has a puncher's chance, I think it'd probably be LA.
I agree. I think LA out of all of those teams has
So
the Steelers have tripped these last couple of weeks. The Texans offense is looking like a just it's just not there at all. And what's the last team? What's the team I'm missing?
the Ravens,
Denver.
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 Oh yeah, yeah. I mean that's why
Um,
the Chargers need the Bengals to win next week because if they can get past the Texans, they have a puncher's chance against the Chiefs. I
mhm.
don't know if they do against. I mean, I guess they did already play the Ravens, but that game wasn't particularly close, if I remember. I think the Ravens went up big early, and maybe the Chargers
Hmm.
came back, but yeah, I mean, it's neither here nor
And
there.
Harbaugh owns Harbaugh in that matchup, I'm pretty sure.
That is true. Except, yeah, no, in the Super Bowl, yeah. So probably like John there, but we'll move on here to the Giants Colts. Giants winning 45-33. I'm sure you have a lot to say. I'm going to be very, very brief here. Flacco, he was up and down this game, but he's not the story. Colts defense, they've been solid all year, but I mean, Drew Lock had 5 total touchdowns in this game. He rushed from one end, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, 5 total touchdowns,
perfect
300
passer rating.
yards. Perfect passer rating, no interceptions. Wild. JT got 34 touches in this game. He went for 136 and 2 touchdowns. He was solid. Michael Pittman, finally. Um, Colts lose the turnover battle 3-0. I mean, both teams lose in this game, if we're being honest. Giants, they fall to number 4 after blowing their first overall spot. Luckily for them, I think they still, I don't know. I was arguing with
It,
Sarb this the other day. I mean, I think there's a real chance that the Titans and the Browns both take quarterbacks.
yeah, the Browns is the question mark. It seems like the Titans next week. I mean, they're gonna split every possession with Mason Rudolph and Will Levis, which is just the
Is that
craziest
what
thing I
they
think I've ever
said?
seen. Yeah,
Every possession, or they're going
I
to
don't know if it's
alternate
they're just gonna alternate, is what they said.
some college shit?
One of the craziest
It's like some
things.
Big
I
12
mean,
shit.
Brian Callahan, what are you doing, man?
Imagine it works though.
Yeah,
They're just like running up and down the field, put up 40. We didn't think the Giants were going to be able to do it.
yeah,
Um, Giants move. They get their first home win of the season. Thought maybe they weren't going to get one. Um, yeah, I'm pretty sure that they said this on PMT. I think they're correct on this. I Jimmy Carter didn't get to see the Giants win a home game this year,
yeah. No, I
so
don't think so.
that sucks for him.
No, oh, it depends what
He
time it
died
was.
before the game ended, I think.
No,
He died in
it
like the
was
middle of that game,
when
I
they
thought.
announced it after though, because they
Most
announced
likely
it
he died a
after.
decent amount of time before they announced it, I'd assume.
Yeah.
Unless there
So
was like a
yeah,
reporter in the hospital room or something.
yeah, that's the only chance.
But yeah, and I guess the biggest positive for the Colts here is they move up to 12. So
And a Niners win in one of the last 2 weeks, which they play the Jags next week. The Colts do, which is probably a win. And it's so Colts to go dominate next week and then not make no moves. So
are they home against Jacksonville?
yeah,
Yeah, that's gonna be a win. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. We're home against Jacksonville next week, but this game is it just sums up the entire Chris Ballard era for the Colts in one game, really. Anthony Richardson doesn't play with back spasms and foot injury. All week they just say he's sore, so he's not practicing, and then all of a sudden after the game they say he has back spasms. Shane Steichen, I don't know what's going on with him this year, or just maybe I just didn't realize it last year, but he is terrible with the media. He can never give a straight answer, which I mean sometimes that's okay, but when the straight answer just makes your players look bad, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be defending your players at least. But just straight up making your players look bad is not a good move at all.
Steichen or Ballard? I forgot.
Steichen.
Okay.
Steichen. I mean, Ballard's been silent. We haven't seen Ballard since preseason.
GMs
Um,
like to do that though. They like to go into
yeah,
hiding and not say
yeah.
shit.
The last words we heard from Ballard were, "We like our guys." So, the guys that he liked this year, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, Zaire Franklin. He liked him. He's leads the NFL in tackles, but this defense gives up 45 to the worst team in football. Some of the guys on defense, Julian Blackman couldn't tackle to save his life yesterday. Kenny Moore, he was pretty good all season, but we saw this in the Jacksonville game a couple years ago, the big game. We saw it against the Raiders that year. He couldn't guard Hunter Renfrow. The games that the Colts absolutely must win. Kenny Moore sometimes just tends to just shit the bed, play terribly. The defensive line was nowhere to be seen. Julak didn't get sacked this game. Laiatu Latu doesn't register a stat for the fourth time this season. Just all around a terrible performance on the defensive side of the ball. They continue to play EJ Speed, although he pretty much stinks. I don't care what his PFF grade is. You watch him out there, he's behind everybody, giving up passes. Jalen Carlisle's, when he was playing this year, was very good. He comes back off IR and he really doesn't see the field at all. Just very disappointing. Offensively, the team played well, 33 points. Joe Flacco looked solid. They were able to run the ball with Jonathan Taylor again, but that doesn't matter. They couldn't get it done late. Alec Pierce has a good game. Michael Pittman has a good game. Kylan Granson has a solid game, but that's tight end is by far the Colts' number one need on the offensive side of the ball. And on top of that, they need to fire just. I don't know what to do at this point. You have to fire Ballard, but it's most likely not going to happen. Everything that Pat McAfee said pretty much was true. I don't like him attacking Anthony Richardson for the tap out still, although he shouldn't have tapped out. We all know that. But under Chris Ballard, three different head coaches now. We've had 12 different starting quarterbacks, a different starting quarterback from 2017 to 2023 for week one of the season every single year. A 61 and 69 and 1 record, under 500, zero division titles in that time span. Each AFC South team has at least two in the time period, and we're supposed to be the top dog in this division. Two playoff berths, only one playoff win. This is just the second big choke. We choked against the Jags in 2021 to make the playoffs. We do that here. He refuses to add talent in free agency and big players. We have really never made that move under him. We have the largest blown lead in NFL history when we were up 33 to nothing against the Vikings and blew that one. And there's always drama in the locker room, it seems. We saw Jonathan Taylor last year in the contract dispute, doing that during a first-time head coach's first year. We have a big contract dispute for his best player. And Jonathan Taylor, at least he has a good game in a big game. Usually this is when he would choke as well, but he did that already against the Broncos. So next week the Colts will go and dominate, win the game by 50, and they'll make no moves, and we'll like our guys again, get nothing through free agency. We'll have Zaire Franklin in on his podcast, talk about other teams and make fun of them. I wish I had the exact quote because I was just looking at it a little bit ago from what he said to. He said, shout out to Mason Rudolph, who threw three interceptions. Actually, not shout out to you because I was wide open a couple times. Throw the ball to me. In Tennessee, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. And then goes out and loses to the worst team in football, team that had the first
I don't even
overall
know what that
pick.
means, really.
I don't even know what it means either, but shout out to him and his podcast for continuing to
Is
talk
he calling
shit and
them
then he
pussies or
can't
something?
back up. Yeah, he
I think
must
that's
be.
what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Uh, and then Jeffrey Simmons was able to just absolutely clown him and say, "Have fun, and I'll see you in Cabo." So
Yeah. It's brutal.
no accountability in that. Ever since Chris Bell's been there, there's really been no accountability. Since that Colts team that had that third overall or fourth overall pick with Anthony Richardson, we have 16 of the same starters as that team. So that team went what, like 4 and
12,
12?
4 and 12. Yeah. Or
Yeah,
four.
and
Yeah.
16
Or
of the
16.
same starters. So that should say all it needs to.
Yeah, I saw a stat that Ballard has been the GM for 7 years now. In those 7 years, three different AFC South teams have won at least two times. The
Yeah,
division Colts have not won it, which is just crazy.
yeah.
That's a wild stat. I could have sworn they won it with Philip Rivers, but obviously they didn't.
No, that was Tennessee and Vrabel. I'm pretty sure had a
Right?
great
Yeah,
year.
it was. Yeah, but yeah, it was
Yeah.
Texans three times, Titans and Jags twice.
And on top of that, they go into today, and Shane Steichen in his press conference was talking about some of the things that Pat McAfee said, and one of the things
I
Pat
saw
McAfee
that.
said was people show up late. to meetings. You can't have that happen on a good team, blah blah blah, and all stuff like that shouldn't happen. And he's like, well, not everybody can show up on time.
Yeah,
They're
that's
getting paid
crazy.
millions of dollars to show up on time. I have a job where I get paid fuck what, and I have to show up on time. That's what everybody has to do. That's part of the job.
Yeah.
But that's just bad accountability. And I actually just saw the tweet of the Indianapolis Colts interview. Well, who was it? Was it are expected to request permission to interview Eagles head coach Frank Reich and Saints assistant head coach Dan Campbell on 2/7/18. Man,
Close. Dan Campbell would not have that shit. I'll tell you
no.
that much.
What
There's not
what
enough
year did you
confidence.
guys hire Dan Campbell though? That'd have been like 2021,
It
right?
was this is his fourth year. So
So yeah, like 2021.
it was no, because it was COVID when he had his press conference, I remember.
Yeah, so the 2020 2021 season.
Yeah. That would make sense. Because yeah, 20
So we were on that beforehand,
yeah,
but
yeah. Yeah. Could have had him. No one I don't think really wanted to hire him though. So I don't know if
no,
the
I
Colts would
mean
have even offered him
they you guys got called certain things for hiring him, so
many. And didn't look good to start either, but
I'm pretty sure that was Jamel Hill.
culture culture will prevail.
Yeah,
But yeah, hopefully the Colts can get some new guys in there. But I mean, like you said, it's not looking bright.
man, go put Peyton in there as GM or something. I don't know.
That'd be
It
crazy.
wouldn't shock me.
Have him
That'd be
lift the
something
curse or
Ursay would
something.
do. Yeah.
That wouldn't be
Well,
bad though.
the curse might be Peyton though.
Yeah,
Ever since I
lift
mean,
his own
we did
curse.
dominate with Andrew Luck, so
Yeah, the curse. If anybody's the curse,
yes,
it
yeah,
might be Andrew Luck.
the luck curse. Yeah,
Maybe he comes back and is like an assistant coach or something.
he's doing stuff at Stanford, so
Yeah,
hopefully
that'd be cool.
maybe he's good there and can become our president of football operations or
That
something
would be sick. That'd be sick.
if he's good.
Yeah, or get like Reggie Wayne in there or something.
We
Or
already have Reggie Wayne in there.
no, really?
He's our receiving coach.
Well, Ty.
He's coaching his son,
Maybe his son comes in and there,
Eugene
there you
Hilton Jr.
go.
I mean, that's the
Zach,
hope is
Deion
Arch
Shitter.
Manning, Eugene Hilton Jr.
Is he a receiver?
Yeah,
Hmm.
he's going to Wisconsin.
Oh, he's a high schooler.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's very good too. I think he's a 4-star.
yeah. There you
I
go.
think he had a couple SEC teams, Wisconsin, Purdue. Picked Wisconsin. Interesting choice, but
Yeah, it's easier up there. Probably get more yards. Not playing against SEC defenses, but we'll move on here to the Bucks beating the Panthers 48-14. Like most of these games, don't have anything to say. Bounce back clinic though for Baker and the Bucks. Baker 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, 359 yards. Bucky went for 113. Carolina's offense pretty bad in this one, but Bryce wasn't horrible. They just had zero run game. They went down so much early. We had the duck. That was cool. The duck was cool.
yeah, that was dope.
Probably the best part about this game was the duck. Panthers offense, it isn't great, but it's encouraging for the Bucks to see a dominant performance from their defense, a questionable unit for them. I think if you're a Panthers fan, you feel fine leaving this year how you are though. Keep losing, lose these last 2 games to Atlanta and the Bucks, get a decent pick. Bryce Young is your quarterback of the future. This was a very successful year for him, especially late, even though he got benched. He looks to be your quarterback of the future. You want to keep some of the targets that he likes. Obviously, Legette's going to stay. Maybe you sign Thielen to like a 1 year contract. He obviously likes Thielen. And then get some guys on defense, boost up that O line a little bit. And Dave Canales has had a decent year. So you might have your head coach for the future. There's teams that are in worse situations than the Panthers right now for sure. Bucks pass rush gets home 5 times in this game. Panthers only have the ball for 18 minutes. The craziest that Bucks reached the red zone in this game 8 times, which is just an absurd amount. And now they just have to beat New Orleans next week to win the South after Atlanta lost last night against the Commanders. So, of course, great win for the Bucks. They needed to win this game. They came out and dominated like we thought we would. They're one of my best bets. Couldn't have my 2 best bets that have gone final so far. Couldn't have been more different. Texans didn't have a fucking chance, and then the Bucks dominated. So see how the Lions do tonight. But yeah, that's about all I got for that.
Yeah, the Lions one does scare me after looking at it's one of the most lopsided public bets in a long time where the Lions are just completely dominating every single bet.
Really?
Yeah. Money
Hmm.
line spread is just straight lines pretty much. So
Hate
that's a
that.
little worrying. Yeah.
Hate that.
Um,
But if they're dominating so much, then how is it only 3.5? It hasn't moved since it came out, so that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that could. I mean, that could just be maybe Vegas is thinking maybe they don't play all the way.
or it's bets not money.
Yeah, I mean, 89% are on the line spread,
Of the money or the
94% on the money
bets?
line. The money too, I think. I could be wrong,
Because
but
that's the
I
big. I mean,
thought,
you could have a million bets on the lines, but if there's people who are
yeah.
betting 20K on the Niners, that line is not going to move.
hmm but in this game, Tampa dominates. We saw Bryce Young, 203 yards, 2 touchdowns, doesn't throw a pick, doesn't have a run game in this one. No Chuba Hubbard. He goes to IR and is done for the season. But we saw him and Thielen have a good game together. 2 touchdowns for Thielen on two very nice Bryce Young throws. 5 catches and 110 yards for him. Leggett struggles. Have kind of continued. His hands have kind of let him down recently. He's got to figure that out going into next year. Coker was kind of quiet. Just like I said, a lot of Adam Thielen. Bucks had this game from the start to the end. This is a very good team against bad teams. Their defense was able to slow down the Panthers, and their offense just had the ball most of the game. The rushing attack was great, 202 yards on the ground, 5 touchdowns and no picks for Baker. And Bucky Irving is just a fantastic running back. Very hard to tackle. He's very shifty. And Mike Evans, 8 catches, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns, needs 85 yards to get 1,000 yards on the season. So they need to win next week. I think he can get to that number and continue that stretch of 1,000 yards.
Okay, moving on here. Speaking of the yards, Eagles Cowboys 41-7. Saquon 101 yards away from the record. He goes for 167 here today. We'll see. What do you think they're going to do?
I don't think he's going to go for it.
I think you let him get a few. I think you let him get like 6, 7, 8 carries, and
Yeah.
if he can break a couple of them and get anywhere close to it, you got to let him try for it.
Yeah, I mean the Giants' run defense. We saw the Colts dominate him there last week, so maybe he can. They just run the ball all first half, get him his thing, and bench him the second half. But
I mean, undoubtedly, if he plays a regular game, he will break the record.
yes, it's
So
just you do not want him to get hurt
you see, Eric
whatsoever.
Dickerson's like really salty about it too. Like he's not happy.
He's not happy, but he's also still encouraging him though. I wouldn't be happy either, but
I wouldn't, but it's class. You got to be classy.
I feel like he was classy. A couple weeks ago, he sat him down and talked to him about it.
Oh, I thought I saw on Twitter that he was like kind of pissed off about it a little bit. Like, oh, there's an extra game. Like, I don't think Calvin's not going to be doing that when that time comes. Undoubtedly, it will come. Calvin's not going to be. I will be doing
Yeah, I
that
was gonna
for
say
him.
you've been doing
I
that.
will be doing that for him. He's not going to do that.
Yeah, I know he said he doesn't want it to get broken, but I think he's accepted or something. I don't know.
It's
He was
Saquon's a
on
different
Sunday Night Football
situation.
last night.
Was he? I wasn't paying attention to that. He
Yeah.
was.
Well, they just interviewed him.
It's much less carries for Saquon too, though. So the game thing really doesn't matter that much. If you have less
Yeah.
carries, the
Different
game
game.
doesn't matter. Yeah, and honestly, in today's NFL, it's even more impressive.
Yeah.
The guys are running the
Eagles are
ball
one of
well
the
most.
only teams that, well, they're one of the best rushing attacks.
Well, they don't have a that later. Um, Eagles were able to do what they wanted to do in this game, run the hell out of the ball. They passed less than 20 times. I mean, they are the old school offense, really. I mean, I think it's more due to inability to pass and they don't trust their quarterback, but they had backups in this game. They played the same way they played with Jalen Hurts. First bad game for Cooper Rush of the year, 147 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions for him. Eagles win the turnover battle 4-0, including a pick six on the first drive of this game by CJ Gardner Johnson, who is I mean, he's an up and down player. There's some games where he looks like an absolute fool out there, and some games where he's an absolute game wrecker. I think he's a solid player. I think it was a good pickup for the Eagles to bring him back. He's just like as a like personality wise, he just stands for nothing. And if you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. But Cowboys, they helped their draft pick a bit, winning many of these games late. They were screwing themselves, but they lose this game. They help their draft pick a bit. They're 7-9. They're going to go under 500, and Mike McCarthy has saved his job, I believe. Even if they
Yeah,
lose, even if they go 7-10, I
I
think
think he
he's still
has.
the head
It
coach.
sounds. I just saw a report a little bit ago that says he's kind of safe.
I think
I'm
people
trying
need
to.
to go easy on Mike too.
Yeah,
He's
it's
had a
been.
good career.
I mean, yeah,
He's had a good
rough
career.
season though.
Yeah, rough season, but like, I mean, he has
Well,
not
I
had a
like
losing
Mike
season
McCarthy. I
since
think
he
he
got
gets a
fired, right?
little. I don't think so.
I mean, he won the East last year,
Yeah, has to have. This is. It's the Cowboys. They expect to just win every year, and they
and
never
he's
do.
just one
So
of those. He's one of those guys who, when they cut to him on the sidelines, when it's not going well. He has maybe the most fireable face and body in the NFL.
Yeah. And on top of that, he went into the season saying he wants to run the ball more, and he hasn't
They figured it out
run the ball.
late. They've been running it better the past
Yeah, the
100
100 yards
times.
for Rico Dowdle in this
Yeah.
game, but you lose 41-7. Does the 100 yards
Yeah,
matter?
no, no, not at all. Not at all.
Um, I was looking up what Eric Dickerson was saying. He does seem kind of pissed off.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
I thought a couple weeks ago he was okay with it, but maybe not. Um, would be funny for Saquon to do it against the Giants. That would be perfect situation there, especially after the offseason, which I feel like there's no way another team accepts a Hard Knocks offseason again with how it's went for the Giants, specifically with the Saquon Barkley drama and then the Daniel Jones drama of not drafting a quarterback. Has not looked good for him at all, and I think this is only his first or second year as the Giants GM, and he could be in a little bit of a rough spot there. But
And they're in the spot where they just had hard knocks, so like
yeah,
all
that's what I mean.
all of those clips.
Yeah, it's just not a good look right now for him. Saquon 167 yards in this game. He was great. Kenny Pickett and Tanner McKee, when they were in the game, both played pretty well against this Cowboys defense that had been ascending. Devontae Smith gets 2 touchdowns and 120 yards. AJ Brown, he gets a touchdown on only 36, but he had about 3 touchdowns total. 2 of them were called back. One of them was incomplete, but one of them was a touchdown called back. Wish those would have counted, but they don't. And then, yeah, Cowboys get 100 yards on the ground, but they weren't in this game at all. Micah Parsons says there was only 5 plays that define this game and that the scoreboard doesn't matter. I'd have to disagree.
Yeah. The Eric Dickerson thing, he couldn't have been as bad as the Mark Gastineau. You've seen that video
Yeah,
of him and
yes,
Brett Favre.
no.
That video
And when you watch the
kills me.
sack, unless, like, what was he supposed to do?
A
Like,
lot of people
fight
say
him off?
he took the flop. I don't think so. I
I
don't
don't
know
think he
what
took a flop. If anything, he
I think it
just
was a
let him come
sack.
off the edge and get the sack.
Yeah, you blame the tackle maybe. What was Brett supposed to do?
Yeah,
But
nothing.
yeah, there's nothing he would have done.
With the Eric Dickerson, though, will Saquon Barkley get the most overpowered Madden card now that he's breaking Dickerson's record? Because back in the day,
Dickerson used to be
I know you
crazy.
remember that Eric
Yeah,
Dickerson
oh
MUT
yeah.
card. Oh my gosh,
Yeah, that
that
was a
thing was
stupid card. Probably.
probably
Um,
the best card in
luckily we're
recent
probably
history.
past that point in our lives, so maybe we won't have to deal with
Yeah,
that.
I hope.
Especially this year. I mean, that's
I tried this year.
Christmas
It
Christmas
was.
promo's over and I still haven't opened up Mutt, so I don't know if it's
I opened
gonna
up MUT for the first time. I went to like the Ghost of MUT promo and saw Panay Sewell quarterback.
that makes sense though. It's got a hell of
He
an arm.
did he throw the ball?
I mean, it's close to it.
It was just all players just completely out of positions and like maybe they played one snap there and I was like, we're really having 95 overall cards for these
We
guys.
need a Dan Skipper X receiver
I
badly. We
I'm
need
shocked he
that.
wasn't in there.
We need that. He's just not a big enough name.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I feel like he's pretty decently known of.
Dude, that car would be a beast too. He's like 6'8". That car would be so good.
Well, that'd go back to last year and Harold Carmichael,
Yeah, that's exactly what it would be.
and that
Dan
card
Skipper
was
wide receiver would be crazy.
it was a Devin Hester corner card. Um,
I could live
yeah,
with that. But
there was a lot of them.
we could move on here to Jags Titans. This game was a better game than some of the other ones. Jags are they're a semi-competitive team with Mac Jones.
Yeah,
Mac Jones has had a decent year. Like I think I think
I
he's
kind
going to
of
get signed by a team as a possible starter next year.
I don't know if he can be a starter. I kind of put him and AOC on the same level. Just
I agree.
great
I think
backups.
AOC is a little bit better. I think AOC is a
Yeah,
little bit better, but Mac Jones ain't bad.
they should have let him stay out for the season. Really.
They should have. They definitely should have. Mac Jones could have, if they really wanted to not play Drake May, Pats could have kept him and not signed Jacoby Brissett. I
Yeah.
mean, they weren't going to predict that Jacoby Brissett would get hurt, but still. Tajay Spears had a positive game here for Tennessee. Brian Thomas Jr. has been the second best rookie wide receiver and has done much of his succeeding with Mac Jones. Crazy to see Thomas and Neighbors dominating with Locke, DeVito, and Mac Jones as their quarterbacks. Marv not playing well with Kyler as his quarterback. This brings us to Marvin Harrison Jr., who I forgot to talk about in the Cardinals game, but he's been probably the fourth best receiver in this class, and he went number 4 overall, which is just wild. I think he's going to be a really good player. I just think the Cardinals are just such a weird fucking team right now. Jags defense isn't great, but they have enough pieces to beat these bad teams. I do feel that way. Titans just continue to be horrible against the spread. Tennessee moves into second in the draft. The Jags fall to 5. Looks like the Jags Travis Hunter dream is over unless the Patriots can win next week, which is possible. But it's honestly with the amount of teams that are clinched at this point going into week 18 and the amount of teams that aren't playing their starters, the draft is up in the air.
Yeah.
Outside of like the Raiders who completely fucked themselves, but we'll get to that next.
Yeah, Jags win this game pretty easily. ETN is a solid game. Ryan Thomas Jr. is just fantastic. 7 catches, 91 yards, and a touchdown. Also had a couple rushes that were big. He finished his 16th game with 80 catches, 1,179 yards, and 10 touchdowns. So still one more game to go. That's a great rookie season, and this is the second time in what 4 or 5 years. Well, they weren't in the same draft, but we saw two LSU receivers that played together: Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. You don't even have to say anything about them. They're probably the top two receivers in football. And now you got Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors both come out of college together, and those two are just fantastic for their teams. Have spectacular rookie seasons. For the Titans, just a terrible team against the spread. The one that I look up, they've only have 2 wins against the spread all season, so 2-14, atrocious. Mason Rudolph starts this game over Will Levis,
I think they're
193
13
yards.
and 1. I think they have a push in there.
Oh, they have a push in there. Yeah,
I'm
they
pretty sure
might.
they have a push. But
Yeah,
I mean that's a moral victory.
yeah. Just get a unit back, whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Wait, does that mean they won a game and didn't cover? Or maybe that
yeah,
was the push. That might have been the push.
yeah.
Because they have 3 wins and 2 against the spread. That's wild. But
It's rough to. It's honestly sometimes hard to do that, but
yeah.
Calvin Ridley, solid game. Not too much. Just Mac Jones was better than Mason Rudolph. Got it done. Mac Jones likes to talk a lot of shit too. Sometimes it usually backfires, but in this case it did not. They get the job done. Jacksonville wins at home. And I don't know if you saw. Do you see the pregame clip
I did
at
not.
this game between the Jags and Titans? Well,
Oh,
they
when they were
had
like, we finally got a night
yeah.
game. That one.
Oh well, there's that one too. Yeah, but it was two Jags cheerleaders were playing on the big board. They were playing like a Street Fighter. I don't know if you know what Street Fighter is,
Yeah,
but they were like
I'm
fighting each
aware.
other. And it was the Jags mascot and then just like a Titans player. And
Oh, I did.
the
I did
Titans
see that
player
clip.
the
Yeah.
Titans player ended up winning, and so it's the Jags cheerleader doing it, but the Titans won, and
Yeah.
she was like, ah,
Yeah, that's wild. I didn't see the end of that clip. I didn't see the Titans won, but I saw them battling on the screen or
yeah.
whatever, which is just wild. You mentioned the LSU receivers. Would you rather have Chase or Jefferson? I know which one I'd rather have.
Oh, that's honestly, there's no wrong answer, but it's
I'd rather have Jefferson.
I go back.
I think he's a little bit better of a route runner.
I think I'd rather have Jefferson. I think part of what makes Jamar Chase so special is his connection with Joe Burrow,
That's
where we've seen Jefferson do with multiple quarterbacks.
Could Jamar
So
Chase do this with Sam Darnold? Is what it comes down to. And I
yeah,
don't think so. I mean, I think he'd
yeah.
still be great, but I just don't think he'd.
I think they're the top two receivers, but I'd take
I don't. I
Jefferson.
don't think it's close. I think it's easily those two. I mean, who
Yeah,
else could you make an argument for?
yeah. I mean, Devontae Adams obviously is out of that now.
Amon Ra.
Amon Ra's up there, maybe top five.
I think Amon Ra's top 5, but he's not better than those guys. I mean,
Uh,
Puka or Cup, maybe no.
Hill's out of it now. You can't. Puka's probably top five now
Yeah, I mean, I
already, and then
just
CD.
off the top. Yeah, I mean,
I think that might be the top five right there.
depends on how you value Tyreek Hill.
I think Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, Nakua, and CD are the top five.
I'm
My
taking.
top five.
Wait, Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, Nakua. Well, you said Lamb and CD.
Chase, Jefferson, CD, Amon Ra, Nakua,
Nakua. Okay.
in no
Yeah.
specific order.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Tyreek's right there though, too.
He's just kind of had a down
Drake
year.
London.
AJ Brown, yeah, no, not even close. I'd put AJ Brown up there in terms of
Yeah. I
talent.
agree. But I think when you
Yeah,
have to include everything, and I think I'd rather have all of those guys on my team than have AJ Brown for maybe some
yeah.
off-field reasons.
JSN's rapidly getting up there in that top 10 too.
Still, I don't think he touches those 5 though.
Yeah, I'm just saying in terms of top 10. Looking at the receiving yards though is hilarious.
Brock Bowers.
Oh, Mike Evans. We have to mention Mike Evans.
He's also not there.
He's
For me.
older, but I mean he's in the top 10.
10, probably 5 now. The 5
Yeah.
guys you mentioned are better than everybody else we've mentioned, in my opinion.
Yeah. But going to receiving yards, Brian
Wow.
Thomas is currently fourth in receiving yards.
In the NFL,
Yes.
Oh wow.
Do you know who? Okay, so one's Jamar Chase, obviously.
Bowers
Then
is two, right?
Jefferson,
Or Bowers is two
CD.
in receiving. Yeah, or in
No,
receptions. Bowers is two in receptions.
yeah.
Yeah.
Number one's Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, Brian Thomas. Can you guess who number five is?
Wait, say those again.
So Jamar Chase one, Jefferson two, CD three, Brian Thomas Jr. four, number five. He's only 13 yards behind number four, and it's just a crazy guy you wouldn't expect.
Tight end or receiver?
Receiver,
Receiver in the AFC?
yes.
Is it
He
Lad?
no, he played with the quarterback for a couple weeks, and it really boosted him.
Hold on.
His team's terrible. Great college player, didn't really work out until now in the NFL.
Trying to think of the terrible teams. I don't know. Who is it?
Jerry Judy.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jerry Judy's fifth in
I wouldn't
receiving.
say he didn't really work out in the NFL. He's in
Well,
like
I
his
mean, like
fourth
at
year.
like at the start
Yeah,
he did,
yeah, yeah. No,
and
that
then
makes
Bowers is
sense.
six.
That makes sense. I mean, I was that's crazy because I was literally going to look up Judy's stats before this pod and I forgot because he was great in this game too against the Dolphins.
Hmm.
Um, but we have 4 games left and we've kind of been yapping, so we can
Yeah,
just power through
but
this.
last
So
thing though, the top two are 300 yards above the rest.
Jefferson and Chase.
Yeah,
I mean,
and Chase is 200 yards above Jefferson or
yeah.
150.
I mean, they're neck and neck. I would say Jefferson's done it slightly more consistently. So
Yeah.
I'd probably lean Jefferson, but um, we'll move on here to Raiders at Saints. Raiders played very well in this game, and it's hilarious. They just continue to fuck themselves up. The Saints, who I ripped into a couple weeks ago about being a bad tanking team, are starting to help themselves out a little bit here. AOC was great, 242, two touchdowns. Amir Abdullah goes for 115 in this game, which is so funny. Like I just mentioned, Brock Bowers second in receptions, sixth in total receiving yards, so he's right after Judy
Hmm.
there,
Yeah.
which that's just crazy. Could you imagine telling somebody that Jerry Judy and Brock Bowers would be the top six in
Yeah,
receiving
and
yards
Brian
this year?
Thomas. Yeah.
And Brian Thomas, yeah, 4, 5, 6. Thomas, Bowers, Judy is crazy work. Spencer Rattler, he's semi-mobile actually, which is pretty crazy. But and sometimes he shows flashes, but he's been just bad all year long. Just not a great passer. Zero run game for New Orleans here. They're just helpless without Kamara. Brutal 1 for 10 on third down for the Saints. Raiders win the turnover battle 2-0 in this game. The Raiders had the number one pick 2 weeks ago, and now they sit at eighth, which is just crazy. Luckily, the Bears' strength of schedule is so strong that all the teams with 4 wins are going to be fine. But yeah, they're at eight now. The Saints are at 10, so they've helped themselves out a little bit. But yeah, our Raiders fan friend is going to cope and tell us that they're still going to get a quarterback at eight, or one of the top two quarterbacks at eight, or he's going to say they don't need one. I guarantee you, he will say one of those things. But I can confidently say if they have the eighth pick, they're not going to get one of the top two guys.
Or
So get
maybe
ready to
they
learn Dylan Gabriel or Jalen Milrow, buddy.
yeah, or maybe they go with Sam Darnold. Who knows?
They could do that.
I'm starting to think he might stay. But
I mean,
onto this
Brady
game.
was, I mean, legitimately, like that game should have been rated X for what Brady was doing to Sam Darnold on the
I
broadcast.
mean, and
Like
yeah,
it was genuinely disgusting.
so that wouldn't shock me if
So,
he would go to Vegas then.
mhm.
Uh,
Questioning Tom Brady's football mind, but
yeah. Aiden O'Connell. I've been saying that every time I feel like the Raiders play. I think he's a solid quarterback. He might be top 35 quarterbacks in the NFL. He's a solid guy to throw out there, especially if your starter's out. 242, two touchdowns. They would have been better off if the Raiders just kept starting Desmond Ritter. But obviously, as Antonio Pierce and the Raiders team, you want to win. It's just the fans want them to lose. Amir Abdul, like you said, he was good. Brock Bowers, fantastic, like normal. And then the Saints, they finally continue to lose. Spencer Rattler stinks. No run game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was their second leading rusher, and Jawan Johnson was their leading receiver. So a lot of tight end action for them. But Raiders get the win on the road, and AOC continues to look competent. And who do they got next week? They have got to be the Chargers,
it's
yeah. And
Chargers, yeah, because
the Chargers need to win.
I
So
almost got the Chiefs.
hopefully they don't screw up their pick anymore.
Yeah. We'll move on here. Dolphins beating the Browns 20-3. DTR up to one touchdown, 10 interceptions in his career. I believe it might be 11. But he's been horrible. Really bad career so far for him, 2 years in. Which I remember in the he got some hype in the combine.
It was like the Hall of Fame game or something he went off in.
Maybe
I know it was a preseason game. He had a couple big plays in.
I remember the combine, like the story was Anthony Richardson and how he was helping the homeless, which yeah. But or not, it wasn't, was it the homeless or was it like cleaning up? No, it was cleaning up.
Cleaning up. It was cleaning up,
I
yeah.
thought it was a homeless thing too that he did.
He
That
might
might have
have.
been a different player in that draft, but I think both those things happened in that combine. Regardless, the hike did not work out for him at all. Dolphins defense is just they're just a good unit, and DTR just couldn't compete against them. Judy, one of the best receivers in the NFL statistically, 12 catches for 94 for him. He's having a great year. Dolphins win despite going 2 for 12 on third down in this game without Tua, who unexpectedly kind of sat out of this game. Dolphins shot themselves in the foot in this game, 11 penalties, but were perfect in the red zone. They win the turnover battle 2-0. It's really tough to win in this league going 2 for 12 on third down and having 11 penalties, but that just shows you how bad the Browns are with DTR, which I'm giving it to the Browns because at this point I'm saying that they're doing the DTR thing on purpose to tank. There's no other explanation for it.
Yeah.
He's so bad. Like that's the only explanation. Dolphins are up to 500. They're still in play for the playoffs now. Like we said, that's like a nightmare scenario. Browns up to the third pick, and they can take the remaining of the two QBs if they want. I think they should take a quarterback. The only thing that concerns me is Deshaun did restructure his contract to
Yeah.
help Cleveland, so it's he's gonna start next year. So that's a little concerning. But I mean, I do not see a world where the drama queen that is Shadur Sanders would be okay with going to Cleveland.
Yeah. Me neither.
Because that's who it
Going.
would be. It became more to Tennessee.
That's yeah. That's what it sounds like, and it sounds like Cam Ward to go first or second at this point. DTR. If you would have told me going into this game the Browns would throw the ball 47 times, I would have absolutely moved the Dolphins line in their favor even more. But he throws the ball 47 times, only one interception, 170 yards. Browns really don't have a run game without Nick Chubb. I mean, they really didn't have it with him either. We thought maybe DTR would help the run game a little bit. That didn't happen here. We see Jerome Ford leave the game very early with I think it was a knee injury. Just a lot of Jerry Judy for them there, and a disappointing game for the Browns. A lot of fans were out, but it looks like they must be tanking, like you said. They're in a good spot now with the third overall pick. And watching Baker Mayfield continue to succeed has to continue to hurt the Browns there. I didn't even realize that Tua had an injury when we did the preview going into that with the hip
Neither did
injury.
Vegas. I mean, they were 6.5 point favorite or eight and a
Yeah.
half point favorites or something.
And all of a sudden, he misses this game kind of out of nowhere, which for fantasy owners of Devon Achan and Jonnu Smith, that was a terrible sign to see. As Achan struggles in this game, really didn't do much at all. He hasn't really done much with Tua out and missing those checkdowns that he would always get from him. Jonnu Smith luckily gets a touchdown late to save me there, but big game from Tyreek Hill. Nice to see him finally get over 100 yards, 9 catches, 105 yards from him. Huntley was just didn't turn the ball over. That's what he had to do. Got that touchdown and nice win for the Dolphins, 20-3. They're in a solid spot, but it sounds like Tua is questionable for next week now. Surgery's not on the table, but we'll see if he can go.
Yeah, better Huntley than Skylar Thompson though.
Oh yeah,
If you have John
oh
Smith.
yeah,
And last thing about this game, I put my nuts on the table and went under 32.5. And what a
yeah,
great what a great bet there.
yeah.
Seeing a line that low in the NFL is crazy. The only time you see that is Iowa. Like they're the only team that can produce those kind of lines.
And I
Um,
think Iowa. I think that game hit the over today.
so yeah, it's the one you're
27-24.
watching. Yeah. Oh, that definitely hit the over. Who'd they play?
Missouri.
Oh, that for sure hit the over.
Yeah, Missouri
They
wins.
win?
Missouri won.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I was about to say. What the fuck is that dude's name? Is it Bowden the third? The
Oh yeah,
receiver?
Luther Bowden. Yeah.
Yeah, stud. Kid's an absolute stud. Him and McMillan, I think, might be the two best receivers in that class. Trying to think, am I blanking on somebody?
It
Uh,
depends what you call Travis Hunter.
he's a corner. He's actually in everything. He's like X the everything app. He's
Yeah.
Travis Hunter the everything player.
Can he do it in the NFL though?
If they let him.
Fair.
He obviously has enough conditioning to do it in college. The games are longer. I mean, I guess he gets more breaks, but regardless. Move on here. Vikings beat the Packers 27-25. Um, Packers struggled for three-fourths of this game, and it killed them. The going forward on fourth down early really came back to bite them when they needed a field goal. A really, really bullshit offsides call on a missed field goal then that first half by I think it was Edger and Cooper. I might be wrong. I'm pretty sure it was Edgerrin Cooper though. Missed field goal from Minnesota. Literally, Goodell came down to the field and handed them 3 points. I saw him hand it to KOC. Ended up being the difference in this game. I thought for a while it wasn't going to be, so I wasn't even going to mention it, but ended up being the difference between the all powerful Sunday night game for the one seed or the I don't even know what fucking game they would have made the Sunday night game if it wasn't for this one. But Jacobs wasn't great. Had a really bad fumble on the first drive. Darnold played very well. Obviously, encouraging to see that from him. Packers did a good job of stopping the run, but their secondary just got absolutely cooked in this game. Packers were better in the red zone, but they couldn't recover from that fumble and the failed fourth down. Those two possessions just really hurt them. How the Packers let the same play beat them twice on the last drive of the game is just beyond me. It was 1st and 10 for the Vikings. They ran this. I don't even remember what it was. I think it was like a rollout pass to C.J. Ham or something, or Akers
Hmm.
maybe it was, and they ran that on first down. They got the 10 yards for another first down. Packers stop them on the next first down. Stop them on the next second down. Third down comes around. They run the same fucking play. The Packers fall for it again, lose the game. Don't understand how the hell that happened. LaFleur angry the whole game as he's been for the past all year, really. Vikings now, they set up a Sunday night football game for the one seed next week. I think it's the most combined wins in a regular season game ever between the Lions and the Vikings, and everything goes as Roger wants it to.
Yeah, great game from Sam Darnold, threw for 377 and three touchdowns. They didn't really have a big running game. Aaron Jones was quiet against his former team. Picked up a little bit of I think it was a hamstring injury or something. Hopefully he'll be good to go for next week. Justin Jefferson, solid game, 8 for 92. Had a nice one-handed grab that did get called back, but he was good. Jalen Naylor as well. Pretty solid wide receiver trio for the Vikings. All had good days. They were had this game pretty much won by the end of the third quarter. They were dominating. They let the Packers come back and score 15 unanswered in the fourth quarter. But like you said, they were able to get it done, get those rollouts, and just end the game with a knee. Jordan Love had his worst game of his Toyotathon career, only 185 yards and a touchdown. He wasn't particularly great in this game. Just a lot of miscues all around, some misses. Josh Jacobs' fumble early did not help the Packers. He had 17 carries, 69 yards, and a touchdown. Romeo Dobbs has a solid game in the receiving, but they got themselves in too big of a hole early. Tried to fight themselves out of it late, couldn't get it done, and they just have struggled against these top teams. Struggled to find a way to beat these top teams. 0-5 now versus teams above that have more than 10 wins. So hopefully they can get it done in the playoffs for their sake. But Vikings, like you said, force that big game next week. 8-1 at home. Just an unexpected, fantastic year from the Vikings.
You just you can't. Jordan Love's gonna learn his lesson now, but you can't acknowledge shit like that, like the Toyotathon shit. You can't like imagine if Lamar was like, "Yeah, I always beat the NFC." You can't do that. Then that's when it
I
doesn't
mean,
happen anymore. You can't acknowledge corny
that's
shit like that.
fair, but I
Or if
mean,
the
if they're
Lions were like,
throwing him
"Oh, the moon is this, we're gonna lose," like you don't do that shit.
a bag,
I
I
mean,
would take it.
I get that, but still, I mean, ugh, comes off as really, really corny when you do something like that and then get ripped the next game.
I respect it
But he's a
personally.
corny guy, so I guess we can't really expect anything less from him. He's been that, but um, we'll move on to Sunday Night Football. Commanders beat the Falcons 30-24. Washington played better for most of this game, but Atlanta had a real chance late. Obviously, Penix, he was solid in this game. Very encouraging last drive of regulation for him to go tie that game up, or second to last drive of regulation, I guess, for him. I think they have a better chance to win with him than Kirk. Just having a quarterback that can move around the pocket just gives them a better chance than a quarterback that stands still. And when you see Kirk have just that horrible 4 game stretch, Penix has not been anywhere near that bad in his first 2 starts. So I think he's a net positive there for them. Bijan, although I think neither quarterback is good enough at this very moment to go win them some playoff games. I think they have a better chance with Penix. Bijan's really putting together a good year. Went for 90 and 2 touchdowns in this game. He also has very, very similar stats to Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit better, despite Jahmyr Gibbs playing in his split backfield for 14 games. Raheem Morris absolutely screwed his team by not calling that timeout late on that last drive, forced Riley Patterson into a 56-yarder, and we know what Riley Patterson is. He was well short on that one. I mean, Raheem Morris, that last minute of that game was just brutal for him. Revenge game for Zacchaeus, 85 yards and a touchdown. 2 for 10 on third down for Atlanta was brutal. Both teams were great in the red zone, though, 7 for 9 combined. Washington commits 13 penalties, which is really, really bad, but they still find a way to get a win. Now they're in line for the 6 seed. Like we said earlier, much better matchup for the 6 seed than the 7 seed. So very similar to the 5 and 6 in AFC. It's 7 and 6 in the NFC. Atlanta now needs a Tampa Bay loss versus New Orleans, or they're done. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we have seen the last of competitive games here for Atlanta now.
Yeah, Commanders really dominated the second half of this game after struggling in the first half. They were down 17-7 at halftime, but they won the second half 17-7. That late drive by Michael Penix was great. He really seemed to have a connection on that last drive with Drake London, who finishes with 7 for 106. We finally see a good Kyle Pitts game, 4 catches, 44 yards, and he gets a touchdown. So good for Kyle Pitts there. I wonder if he's starting to catch up to Johnny Smith's stats, which he's probably not even close,
No,
but
no, can't be close.
can't be close. Johnny Smith's been fantastic. Bijan Robinson was great in the first half of this game, had 2 touchdowns, 90 rushing yards. But Penix overall, he looks solid. It doesn't seem like he'll get any playoff experience this year, with the Buccaneers having a game next week that they should win to get in. Jaden Daniels, he was good in this game again. This Commanders team plays another very close game, and they find a way to win it. They've been doing that all season. Jaden Daniels breaks Robert Griffin III's rookie rushing record. He had 127 yards in this game rushing for a quarterback, and 227 yards passing. So just a great game from him, throwing the ball to oh my goodness, I'm stuttering. Olamide Zaccheaus,
Notice
eight
how
catches.
I just said Zacchaeus. I
Yeah,
chose the completely
Olamide
ignore that.
Zaccheaus, 8 catches, 85 yards, in the just quiet Terry McLaurin game in the fantasy championship for his owners. So Commanders win and clinch themselves into the playoffs and got the Rams in with this win.
He joins Justin Fields and Michael Vick, I believe, is the only quarterback to throw for 3 touchdowns and run for 125 in a game. So
Yeah, so
pretty
very
impressive for him.
impressive.
I'm also getting a targeted ad right now for Toyotathon, which is interesting. By the way, the event ends January 6th.
Oh,
So
short throwathon this year.
J6, tough day for a lot of people. But we'll move on to studs and duds. My stud,
Oh
well, I
shoot.
mean, my stud and my dud are in this game we just talked about. My stud is Jaden Daniels, like I just said, the stat with Justin Fields and Mike Vick, 125 and 3 touchdowns in a game. Rushing, 3 passing touchdowns, 125 rushing yards. He got sacked 5 times in this game, but he was phenomenal. The Commanders have sneaky won 4 straight now, 2 of them against bad teams, but they beat Philly and Atlanta as well during that stretch. He's been really good. He's fourth in QBR in the league, 72.9. He doesn't have a ton of incompletions. He's a pretty good completion percentage quarterback. And when you have the wheels like he does, that was the best we've ever seen him on the ground was last night. And I'm very impressed from what I've seen. If he can just do that consistently, he can easily turn into a Lamar Jackson because he has a better arm coming into the league than Lamar ever did coming into the league. Lamar obviously is better now, but he absolutely has that potential. I hope the Commanders don't ruin him. But yeah, Jaden Daniels is my stud.
Yeah, this is one of the harder ones. I have to give an honorable mention to Joe Burrow. He was great this week, but I'm really deciding between the little lad McConkey. He was great this week, 8 catches, 94 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But I'm gonna give it to Trey McBride, even though they lost. 12 catches, 123 yards, and then he finally got his touchdown. He's been great all season, one of the best tight ends, and he was able to finally get in the end zone. So I'll give him the stud just for the fact that he did the impossible.
I believe he broke Keyshawn Johnson's record by like 6 catches for most catches without a touchdown.
So,
And he
yeah, so
obviously died. But um, because we're at the end of the season here and we're gonna have studs and duds to pick for the playoffs, so I'm gonna use my dud on a team that's not gonna make the playoffs here. I gotta go with Raheem Morris for that brutal end to the game. I was telling you last night, he has one of those looks to him that you cut to him on the sideline and it's like he looks confused at times. You you're in his role. You have to make sure you have timeouts and time clock management and challenges down. He does not have that down. I know it's early. I remember even like Dan Campbell struggled with that stuff early, so maybe he'll figure it out. But last night he was horrible. Absolutely had a chance with that way that offense was moving to give his team a 45 or a 40 yarder to win that game. Instead, you have to kick a 56 yarder, and Riley Patterson was short about 8 yards on that. So, tough end of the game for him, and it's hard to put it on anybody else but him. And they're most likely going to miss the playoffs because of that decision.
yeah, a rough decision, especially like you said. If he's not calling plays on either side of the ball, you have to be good at doing the time management and the little things, and he was unable to do that there. My dud of the week should be pretty obvious. It's as much as I want to pick specific players, I'll just go with the Colts as a franchise. I'd also like to put it on Chris Ballard, some of the defensive guys,
Stud should
Zaire
be McAfee.
Franklin. Yeah, yeah, honestly. But yeah, Zaire Franklin, who never forget earlier in the season on his podcast, direct quote, they were asking him what teams he likes to play. I would like to play a team that I know we're gonna spank, like the Giants. I'm trying to get my rank up right around November, December. Give me a 4-11 Giants team. What a quote by Zaire Franklin there. They just lost to a 2 and whatever Giants team. So
Oh man.
yeah, just completely embarrassing. But
What does
I
he
just
even
the
mean
Colts.
by get my rank up? What does that even mean?
Probably get his stats up so he can. Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know. Just
he has a lot of
seems to
things
be
that
a little
just don't
selfish.
make sense that he says.
Yeah,
But that'll happen. It sucks that he leads the league in tackles though.
yeah. I mean, he's great at tackling, just not great at winning big games or showing up in big games.
Yeah, at this point you just gotta hope
And
that AR
and
isn't the guy that they're talking about with late to meetings. That's what you gotta hope at
yeah,
this point.
he's supposed to be the leader of the defense, and the defense continuously chokes in big games. Well, I mean, they were good in the Broncos game, so I'll give him that. But this game, obviously, you gave up 45 points to a terrible Drew Lock, who had 2 pick sixes in the week prior and like 100 passing yards.
He's the future.
Yeah, maybe they'll keep him now.
All right. That will about do it for this episode of the Engage 8 podcast. We will be back on either Thursday or Friday. We're going to recap the 4 college football games. I'm excited about that. And then we will do a preview of the week 18 games. Yeah, I think one of those two teams is going to win this week, and it's the
Yeah.
one that's in the bowl.
Rose
But
Bowl, Ohio State, yeah.
yeah, um, yeah, we'll maybe do a semi-shortened preview of the Week 18 games and talk about the more important games. But we'll obviously have a long conversation about college football, which I'm sure we will get into another SEC Big Ten situation. Regardless, um, yeah, thank you for watching the video. If you made it this far, like, subscribe, hit the links in the description, TikTok, social media, all that good stuff. And we'll see everybody in the next one.